If you're not able to play the things you want to play because you're held back by a weak hand, then today's lesson is for you. Without tackling this specific issue, you'll struggle to play anything smoothly and evenly, and you'll never be able to play fills around the kit well or feel confident at all on the drum set. I'm just being super honest with you. But no worries, because I'll show you exactly how to solve your weak hand by taking action on this crazy simple 3-step method that you can do right now on a practice pad. I'll show you exactly how to do this. You can do this. Hey, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're hanging out. My goal for you is to get you to where you're the musician that other people want to jam with. You're the drummer people want to have in your band. That's what we do here. And we do that by teaching you the core non-glamorous skills that get you there faster, that get you results quickly. And hey, speaking of quick results, I've got a free gift for you in the description. I want you to be able to play anything you hear in your head. Whatever idea you've got that you want to play on the kit, I want you to just be able to play it. That requires coordination. Coordination makes everything easy on the drums when you have coordination, but you've got to build it, and I've got an e-guide that's going to help you out a bunch with this. It's called 30 Days to 4-Way Rock Coordination. This guide is so helpful. It's just step by step, and so many of my students who have worked through it get tremendous results just by day 10, 12, 15, so just get halfway through it, and it's going to be a huge game changer in your playing. Get all the way through it, and that's even better. So go dive into that guide. It's right there in the description. It's going to help you play what you hear in your head and just achieve freedom on the drum set and help you out a whole bunch alongside what we're doing today. So, all right, let's dive into today's lesson. So the big struggle is that you have a weak hand, and so you're not able to play the things you want to play, at least as well as you want to play them. Probably the biggest problem with a weak hand is that navigating around the kit never feels fluid, and so you end up avoiding certain fills. You end up avoiding certain things that you could play but you can't because maybe that left hand just won't function right. And so you end up being held back a lot, and that's a problem. That's something we've got to overcome. And the thing is, this has got to be the #1 technical problem that students have when they first come to me. But what's so cool, it's amazing to watch that when we fix little things and we work at this, it doesn't take very long. And they start getting amazing results where suddenly their weak hand is just not weak anymore. They get it fixed and both of their hands start to become even. Sometimes things will click in just a couple of days. Within a few weeks, it's like, you know what, this is sounding good, this is feeling good, and give it a few months and there is no weak hand. They've eliminated it. I've seen this over and over again with students, and it's simple. That's why I'm teaching it to you today. So the truth is, you can solve your weak hand and achieve freedom by following this super simple 3-step method that you can do on a practice pad. So here it is. You ready for it? Here is the crazy simple 3-step method. And by the way, I'm all about being super honest with you and not sugarcoating anything. There is a prerequisite here because we're making the assumption today, as we start working on this, as we go through this 3-step method, we're making the assumption that your strong hand is gripping well. That the strong hand grip is correct and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with your strong hand, which we'll be assuming is your right hand for the sake of this lesson. If there's any issue there, if you're afraid that maybe your right hand is not actually gripping well, if you're having issues over here and you're just like, Steven, all of my grip is a mess. I need to work on my strong hand before I fix my weak hand. If that's you, don't worry, I got you covered. I want you to go dive into a lesson I've linked below, another lesson here on the channel called The Best Skill to Practice When You Can't Make Noise. Hint, the best skill to practice when you can't make noise is grip. And we teach the nitty-gritty of fulcrum and motion, all of that stuff there in that lesson. So if you're brand new to the drums or you know that your strong hand is having trouble too, that's a really good place to start, and that's going to set you up for success. So feel free to pause this video, go open that link in the description and another tab, go check out that lesson, and then jump back over here as soon as you're ready. Once you've got that squared away, once you know that, okay, my right hand is doing what it's supposed to do, this is really pretty simple because you're halfway there in theory, right? So here we go. Step 1 is get both hands looking identical. Now, this is super simple, but the reason why this is difficult is because a lot of times we feel like both of our hands are looking identical. If you close your eyes and you sit here and do this, but if you're having a lot of weak hand issues, odds are, even if you feel like your hands are doing the same thing, if you start watching, you're going to notice that they're not exactly doing the same thing. Because that weak hand has probably developed some bad habits, and because those bad habits are now committed to muscle memory and you're not noticing them, it may feel to you like both hands are doing the same thing when actually they're not. They're not gripping the same way. So this is honestly the most challenging thing here, but if you can do this first step, if you can get through this of getting both of your hands looking the same, you're most of the way there, honestly, even though this is just the first step. So what I want you to do is carefully examine, okay, what is my strong hand doing? Where am I gripping? Where is my fulcrum? You should have a fulcrum point, a hinge point. If any of this is lacking, again, that's what that other prerequisite lesson is for. That's there to help you out and make sure you've got this squared away, since we're just briefly going through this today. But make sure you've got that fulcrum that's going on. So the main objective here is just to make sure that you're gripping in the same place, just the same place with that left hand. Where is the fulcrum point? What angle is the thumb on there? Make sure that the thumb is positioned the same way. If you're doing a middle finger fulcrum with the right hand, make sure you're also doing a middle finger fulcrum with the left hand. What's the index doing? Is it kind of hanging out here? That's what I like to do. It's kind of like the index finger is like a guardrail in a way, just a guiding finger, while the fulcrum is actually here on middle finger. So do both thumbs look the same? Is everything symmetrical? What are the pinkies doing? Make sure there's not a pinky sticking out. So this is where you just have to be patient with the nitty-gritty nuance of this and look at the details and make sure, okay, is it the same? Am I gripping in the same spot? And now here's the challenging part, because when you start playing, now that you've got your left hand looking like your right hand gripping the same way, it's probably going to feel weird. And if you close your eyes and play both hands together, it's probably not going to feel like you're gripping the same way with both, because you got so used to whatever weird, wacky grip you were doing with your weak hand. Now you're doing it right, but it's not going to feel right, because now you've got to rebuild that muscle memory. And this is where you really got to pay attention. You really got to be careful so you don't backslide and go back to what you were doing. You've got to be watching how you're gripping, watching where you're gripping on the stick. So, okay, strong hand, we're gripping about here. Maybe we've got a couple inches of extra stick down here. This is a good spot to grip just for general, not super heavy slamming playing. If you want to play louder, you can slide down, but usually this right here is a good spot. So make sure you're gripping in that same spot. It's possible that your left hand has gotten used to gripping up here or down here, and because of that, it feels weird to actually have both hands in the same spot. And so it all comes down to just watch, keep checking, play a little bit, and then look, okay, are we in the same spot? Does this look symmetrical? Are we good? Is the fulcrum at the same spot? Just do it and be patient with it and give it some time. Then you're ready for step 2. So in step 2, what we want to do is make sure both hands are moving identically. And a lot of this is stick motion. We're also evaluating what is our wrist doing, what is our arm doing. So step 1 was, are we gripping in the same spot? Does it look the same way when we're not even playing? Like, are we gripping the same way? Does this look symmetrical? But now step 2, we really want to pay attention to what's happening while we're playing. Are we getting the same motion with the weak hand as we are with the strong hand? So of course the first thing you can do is what we've been doing here. Just play together. When you're playing on a practice pad, you can play both sticks together. You don't get weird effects. If you do that, on a tom or on a snare, sometimes you get that weird trampoline thing where one doesn't bounce quite right. But on a practice pad, you can do both sticks together, just like this, right next to each other. Are they both bouncing to the same height? The number one thing that'll happen here is the weak hand doesn't play as loud because it's just not used to playing strongly. So you might notice, okay, left hand isn't as loud. If this is happening, okay, get a little bit louder with the left. See if you can match the stick height. Just get both sticks coming up to the same height. And then I want you to pay attention to what are your arms doing. So we've got another lesson. This could be another prerequisite. I'll see if I can link this in the description too. But there's a lesson about something I like to call artificial rebound. And the whole concept behind it is allowing a little bit of arm motion so that you're lifting the stick on each rebound. That way, if you hit a floor tom, the stick doesn't just go like that. Instead, you're lifting it up so that you have motion. Motion is what we're talking about right here. And a little bit of arm motion goes a long way. Yes, we're supposed to be playing from our wrists. Yes, wrist motion is critical. We're not supposed to play like this. That's just ridiculous. We're supposed to have a lot of motion within our hand, like this. So the stick is hinging within our hand. That's critical because that saves you a lot of effort. It saves you wrist pain and arthritis and all of that because you don't want to play like this. That's not good. I've seen students do that and they're just straining their wrists. We want to have this kind of motion. That way the wrist motion is gentle. That way your hand doesn't actually have to move much. And then when you allow just a little bit of forearm to move up and down too, you can see here in the main camera how much my forearm is moving along with the stick. So we've got the stick moving the most, then we've got some wrist motion, then we've got a little bit of forearm motion. So all of that translates to a whole bunch of motion out here at the tip of the stick, and it all feels very smooth. And of course, if we were playing louder, we would increase that forearm so that we're then getting more of that whipping kind of motion. That way it's all nice and smooth. So point is, that's what needs to be happening here with the strong hand, and work on mimicking that motion with your weak hand. I know it might feel a little weird. It might be hard to do, teaching the nuance of motion to a weak hand that's not used to really doing much at all. But be patient with it. This is so important. And just make sure that they're doing the same thing, that your hands are coming up to the same height each time. In other words, your arms are moving the same amount. You've got that same amount of hinge going on here. If you notice that one hand is doing this, like springing up too quick, try to be a little more gentle with it. So it's just kind of that floating motion. Or if one hand is going like, and staying down here and like smacking the head and not coming up, practice that lifting, that gentle lifting where you're hitting, and then the stick's coming up naturally if we're on a practice pad or a high-tuned snare. But you're also manually lifting just a little bit, using some of that forearm motion to create that fluidity. That's gonna be key. And so just sit here, do the same thing, both hands. And then something else you can do here. I know I said we're just gonna do this on a practice pad, but if you're at your kit, or if you've got a couple of practice pads, or even if you don't, even if you're just sitting here, practice moving from side to side, or moving, from different places. So let's say you've got a snare and a floor tom, or a practice pad and a practice pad, or a pillow and a pillow. Doesn't matter. We're just talking about motion right here. Practice moving back and forth with that strong hand and see, okay, what is the strong hand doing? Like, what path is the stick taking? What is my arm, my wrist doing to create the back and forth motion? And then make sure you can mimic that with the weak hand. And just go back and forth. Practice doing that over and over again. And ideally, you've got a mirror sitting in front of you. Have a mirror in front of you, set up a computer with the camera on, an iPad with the camera on, whatever you've got to do, so that you're getting immediate feedback on what your hands are looking like from that direction. Plus, if you're making video recordings of yourself, you can go back and watch those, and that'll expose every single little thing that maybe you didn't notice. That's going to be critical, especially if you're self-taught. You've got to be able to self-evaluate and see what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. That's going to go such a long way. We've got to use technology to our advantage. If you've got a smartphone, you've got an iPad, put it to work. Use that to help you become a better drummer. So at this point, we've gotten through 2 of the 3 steps. And at this point, the majority of the foundation here is laid. You've got both hands gripping the same, and then you've got the sticks moving the same way, and each arm doing the same thing. And as long as you are battling through that whole mental battle of this doesn't feel the same, but it looks the same, keep going until eventually it will feel the same, because that muscle memory is going to happen. It's going to become habit and second nature, and eventually your arms and hands will do the same thing together without you thinking about it. But that will take some days, some weeks, give it some time. But you'll get there, I promise. Now, here's the 3rd step. This is critical for moving forward. We've laid our foundation. Step 3, though, is critical for making sure that you grow at this, and that a month from now, there's no weak hand. Spend twice as much time working on the weak hand as working on the strong hand. So, in other words, spend 10 minutes sitting here working on your singles, just singles, with your strong hand. 10 minutes on the strong hand. Then spend 20 minutes on the weak hand. Yeah, you could do 5 minutes here and 10 minutes here, but ideally you spend 30 minutes each day working at this. I promise you, if you can dedicate 30 minutes a day just to practicing on your pad with the focus on eliminating the weak hand, you will eliminate the weak hand. It's going to happen more quickly than you think, because consistency is so key here. If you're trying to eliminate a weak hand and you're practicing 1 time every week or sporadically throughout the month, even if it's a 3-hour practice session that happened 3 times in the month, that's not nearly as helpful as just 20 minutes on the weak hand every day. If you do that, you will get results, because it's going to get slightly better each day. And even if you make a 10% increase or a 5% increase in skill every day, that just increases and compounds until before you know it, there's no weak hand. That's how it works. So if you can dedicate 30 minutes a day to this, you're practicing twice as much time just on the weak hand as you were with the strong hand. And keep that up. Always have that mentality of, okay, I just spent 7 minutes right here. That's it for the strong hand. Now I'm going to do 14 minutes over here. Time yourself. Do whatever you got to do. Be organized about it so that you're sticking to it and you're giving that weak hand the time it needs to build the new habits that it needs to build, so that it's not a weak hand anymore. So let's think ahead a little. I hope you are fully inspired and motivated to dive in and do this, but I want to make sure that you understand what's going to happen in your playing when you practice this. Think ahead probably just a month from now, but especially a few months from now, I always want you thinking way ahead, long term. Like, what is going to happen if I do this every day? If I do this regularly, how will my drumming life be different next month or 3 months from now? Well, your fills are going to naturally become a lot more smooth and even. And that's the magical thing about this. When you're doing pad practice, you're eliminating that weak hand. That so directly translates to the kit that you're going to find that even if this is all you practice over the next month, you're going to sit down at your kit at some point. Maybe you play at your church, maybe you're jamming with some buddies. You're going to be playing with friends, and you're going to suddenly realize, oh, hey, that fill felt better. I moved around the kit more smoothly. That's awesome. You're going to play stronger, better quality backbeats on the snare because generally that left hand is the one playing the backbeats. And if there's no more weak hand, that means that that left hand can be more precise, can be more fluid and smooth. You're going to have better backbeats. You're going to find that you're able to play ghost notes better on the snare because there's just a better brain connection with that left hand now. That's awesome. You'll be able to learn to play open-handed if you like. So you'll now have the ability to start keeping time with your left hand, playing those backbeats with the right hand if you want to, which is going to really help you go to the next level with this. You could even switch your kit full-on lefty, and that's only going to help you with this. You'll actually be able to tackle that at this point. It won't feel so daunting. You'll be able to keep time with the left hand, which is pretty cool. And all in all, you'll be able to execute the ideas you hear in your head so much more easily because there's no longer that barrier, that giant obstacle between your brain and your left hand. Your left hand will cooperate. You'll be able to just get both of your hands working together and doing what you want them to do, which is an amazing feeling. So, question for you before you go. To those of you who have been working on your weak hand, because I know we've got a variety of drumming levels represented out there among the viewers. Some of you have been working at this for a long time. Some of you are drumming veterans. So many of you are brand new to the drums, though. And what I would love to hear from those of you who have been working on eliminating your weak hand, what has been the most helpful thing you've practiced to fix your weak hand? So I'm sure you've practiced a lot of different things. What has been the single most helpful thing you've done to work on eliminating that weak hand? Share that with us below because this could be super helpful, super encouraging to beginners who are first getting into this and are watching this video. And so I'd love to get some discussion going on that. All right, that's it for today. I hope this has been super valuable to you, super helpful to you. Be sure to go grab that e-guide, 30 Days to 4-Way Rock Coordination, because guess what? The more you build your coordination, even as you build foot coordination, the more the mental side of this is elevated. Because if you can build your 4-way coordination, that's naturally going to help your weak hand. And then if you're working the technique and the grip on top of that, it's just going to make your results even more exponential with weak hands. So go grab that 30 Days to 4-Way Rock Coordination PDF guide. My free gift to you, it's going to help you out a whole bunch. Know that you can do this. You can conquer your weak hand. You can build coordination. This is a learned skill, and you are fully capable of doing it. So I wish you the best. Go practice regularly. You can do this. Stay non-glamorous. I'll see you on the next lesson.